Hi. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Wait.
Okay, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm from the United States. I'm one of the English teachers here on Verbling. And for this hour, for this class, we're going to be having a speaking class. And so we're going to be talking about a topic that's called, the broad topic is gender, or sorry, not gender, we did that yesterday, generation gap. And we're going to be talking about in your culture and in the world, what are the differences between younger people and older people, and how has that been changing or not over the years. So we're going to have some questions that are on this page that I put up for you guys. I'll put the link again in the Verbling chat here, and that's going to a page where we have lots of questions, and we're just going to pick a few and have a discussion. People will have a chance to practice speaking in English. So welcome, guys. Hi there. Rafa, how are you?
I'm pretty well, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome.
Fine.
Are you having a good weekend?
Yes, pretty nice. I called here, but
Oh,
with sunny days, cold on sunnies, and I
uh-huh.
went to take a walk with my families, with my family, my wife this
Uh-huh.
morning.
All right.
Beautiful, beautiful walk.
Great. Yeah, wonderful. I hope I get outside of the house today. I didn't really go for a walk yesterday because it was pretty cold here. I stayed inside the warm house, but today I have to put a jacket on and go outside.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, of course, maybe some of you know also the Super Bowl is later today here in the United States, and that's the big championship game for the sport of
Yeah.
American football. So I'm going to be going to some friends, get together with some friends, and watch the game. I'm not a big football fan, but my family growing up, of course, we watched some football, and so if I watch one game in the year, it'll be the Super Bowl. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's see, Carla. Hi. Hi, Carla.
Hi.
Nice little picture you have there.
Thank you.
Okay, Carla, where are you from?
I'm from Madrid, from Spain.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, this is a good time for people from Spain. We get a lot of people from Spain around this time. And let's see who else is joining. Rafael. Hi, Rafael.
Hi Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? How's your new year?
I'm good too.
Good.
My new year has been good.
Great. Yep, we finished 1 month already. It's the second month now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's the summer for you in Brazil?
Uh, okay, there's nothing new about the summer here because it's summertime during all
All the
year.
time,
You know
pretty
that.
much.
All, yeah, it's sunny all the time. And
Sunny all the time.
when it's
Yeah.
raining, it's also hot.
I know that's so amazing to me because that does not happen here in the United States. Not at least where I have lived. In some states, they have some summer rains where it can be warm and kind of muggy and it'll rain. But where I have lived in California and in Washington State, if it's raining, it's usually cold, cold rain. Yeah, so that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, hopefully you are getting some rain because I know that's a problem, especially for Sao Paulo area,
Yes, that's a
the
big
drought.
problem.
So hopefully it will rain.
It was raining yesterday.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. You gotta take every little bit you can get, we say.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Hi, Wellington.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Not raining where you are, huh?
No, no, yesterday not.
Where are you?
I'm São Paulo.
Yeah, you're in Sao Paulo. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah,
So, bummer. That's where you need it.
yeah. Now, for example, I heard storms.
Oh,
Storms. Yeah,
you heard
but
some thunder, maybe? Yeah.
right now, but thunder. Yes, thunder. But I'm not sure if it will rain. I'm not sure.
Oh. Do you see some clouds? Are the cloud? Is it getting cloudy?
Yeah, there are a lot of clouds. Since earlier, I saw many clouds in the sky, but I'm not sure if it will rain.
Yeah.
Sometime is there are many clouds, but only rain. The rain is rapid.
Oh, just really quick
Yeah, really.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that happens. And Ahmed, you're joining us. I said hi earlier, but welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, good. And so let's go ahead and get started. Maybe some other people will join us. You never know. It's okay if somebody's watching right now and you want to join us. Now's a good time. All the Verbling classes pretty much start on the hour. We try to start right around the start of the hour, and we end right before. And sometimes people go over a little bit. Sometimes I do that. So sometimes students come into the next hour, but they come in a little bit later, and that's okay. Also at Verbling, you can come and go as you like. So if you can only stay for half an hour or something, that's fine. So feel free to just come, participate, and leave if you have to. That's totally okay. Okay, so let's just first of all talk about the basic idea here of what is a generation gap. And I'm going to check in with you guys. What do you understand about that idea of generation gap? Rafael, do you understand that term, generation gap?
I confess that I have no idea. I know that gap is how can I say that, a mark.
Like a
No, it's
space.
not a mark. No, a mark. I mean a brand. Oh, sorry. It's a
Oh, the
brand.
brand, yeah, the gap.
Yes, but
Yes,
I have
that's
no idea
true.
what gap means.
That's true. Okay, good. Associations. Well, that's an interesting thing because, all right, I can go from that. So you know the brand, The Gap. Maybe some other people have heard about that. It's in the United States. I don't know if it's in other countries as well.
It's popular
Uh,
in Brazil.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's
Okay. Oh, it is. Okay. So we're talking about The Gap. Now, in your opinion, what kind of clothes does the Gap make in terms of for what age group? Oh no, I want to get out of this. Do you know what I mean, Rafael?
Yes, I think it's for young people,
Yeah.
especially teenagers in high
Uh-huh.
school.
Yeah. So good. So the Gap is the brand, and that's not what we're going to talk about, but it's a kind of a good way to talk about it. It's usually for younger people. They do have some clothing even for kids, and sometimes for men and women, but usually with that people who want to have that younger look. And so that is somewhat related to what we're actually talking about. But let me just check in. Does anybody actually know what generation gap refers to?
yeah.
Okay. What?
Uh, yeah, it's like when the people are older and they are in their 50s or 60s, and and others in 20s, like youth. So they think in the past years, yeah. That you have different way of thinking. Today we have technologies, we have Facebook, we have some stuff like that. The old people, uh, yeah, they found some difficulties in those things. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Joyma. Hi, Joyma.
Hi.
Hi. Did you want to talk about it a little bit? Generation gap. How do you understand that term?
Yes, I think that it all started in the 60s. That decade is the decade of revolutionary change that reshaped the Western world's attitudes, war, human civil rights, human rights, religion, sex, everywhere, everything.
Yeah, free love.
But
Yeah.
I think that generation gaps form is when two age groups begin to see the world in very, very significantly different perspectives, and that can happen every time, everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say that's a good definition of it. So the term, let me just give you guys the words here. Generation, that describes, like you said, so you have, your parents, and then you're born, and then if you have babies, then your babies are born, and each time you have a new addition to the family like that. That's called a generation. So my generation is different than my parents' generation. So it's the group of people in the time period that they grew up, and then my grandparents' generation is different, and like that, like down the line. So each new kind of a group of people being born around the same time represents what we call a generation, a group of people born around the same time. And here in the United States, we talk about that, and people give them names. So we have like Generation X, Generation Y. We have the baby boomers. These were the people that were born like in the 1950s. A lot of people in the United States were born in the 1950s, so a lot of people now going into retirement age. That group of people, that's a generation. Also, people define their generation by what happens in the world at the time that they're kind of young, like young adults. So, like the baby boomer generation, they were becoming the teenagers in the 1960s. And so, like, Joyma, you're talking about, that was a really big difference. They were having a different kind of experience than their parents, that type of thing. So, yeah. And the gap is actually, the word gap means like a space. So it means here that there are differences between different generations. So there are differences between the people who are like in their 60s right now versus people who are in their 20s. And even their generation is just one. So like my generation, people my age now, so like I'm 44, and people in my parents' generation in their 60s, they're different. We have different maybe values, different beliefs, different way of that we grew up, and that's called the gap. And the gap can mean how we don't understand each other. So it's the space between us where maybe we don't really get along, and that's what Joyma is talking about, like the revolution. It's free love, lots of sex. That was quite a bit different than the people before them. Their parents. That was not happening before that. So okay, so let me just let me say hi to Ken, because I noticed you came in. Hi, Ken.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Welcome. We're just getting started, so we were just kind of defining what does it mean, the generation gap. What is a generation? What does it mean to have a gap? And so you probably have heard about this before, generation gap. So the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I think it happens in a lot of cultures. I'm not sure if it's happening everywhere, but we're going to find out. We're going to talk about that. So here are some questions. We're not going to go through all of them, of course. We don't have time for that. But we will pick some of them, and I'm going to pick some. But if you look through them and you think, oh, it'd be fun, to hear what people say about that question, tell me, and that's fine. I'm happy to have you choose the question. I'm going to go to this one right here, because I know this will probably be interesting to Ken that you came in. So one thing that is really kind of defines the generation is the music that you listen to. So
Yes.
Ken, what do you think? And that's the wrong use of role. Somebody wrote this question. It should be, what role with an L-E does music play in generation gaps? So how does music influence people?
Mhm. I think it was huge in 60s and 70s and 50s.
Yeah.
But nowadays, maybe kind of parents and teachers and kids and grandma, grandpa share the same style of music.
Oh, you think so?
Somewhat same style of music, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But that's why I think hip hop and rap happened in late 80s in America.
Mm-hmm.
Because rock has already been used for the teenage level, or
Right, yeah.
so. But compared with my kids' time, maybe my time music changed radically. Beatles came to the band. All of a sudden, fashion style and music changed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe current generation doesn't, experience a minor change. Not such a huge change, in my opinion, in terms of music. Instead of that, maybe computer technology or internet kind of thing
Yeah.
could be the huge, might cause a gap between the generations now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see what you're saying because so I'm just gonna kind of rephrase what you said, but the idea of music, it plays a role in the gap because usually a new generation has a new style of music, and that was really true, especially like you said in the 60s, even in the 50s where rock and roll was starting. But then it got a little bit even more kind of hard rock and stuff, and then the 70s, so it kind of evolved, and that was a lot different. So what it means is, as a teenager, as a young adult, you're growing up listening to different kind of music than maybe your parents grew up with, and a lot of times the older people don't like the new music. So that's that gap. There's some kind of a gap there between. You don't like the same things. So that's one way that music happened. But I wonder if it's true what you're saying. Like my daughter, she listens to like Taylor Swift, but I can't say that I like Taylor Swift. So there's a little gap there between music for me. But Ahmed, what about music for you? Do you like the music of your generation, or do your parents like different kind of music, or do you enjoy the same style of music?
Yeah, we enjoy the same style of music because I like the old music. Yeah.
You like the older kind of music, uh-huh.
Yeah. I like Pink Floyd.
Cool. Pink Floyd. Yeah.
Yes.
So you like the music of your parents' generation?
Yes.
Ah, okay. All right, so you guys can have a bond that way. What about you, Carla? Do you like the music of your parents' generation or your generation better?
I love music, all kind of music, and I grew up with the music that my mom likes, liked in 80s music and 70s music. So especially I like 70s music, pop music from 80s music. And nowadays I like music, but I prefer the other one.
Okay. So I don't know how old you are. Do you have kids?
No, I don't have to.
You sound pretty young. Okay. So if you were to have kids now and they liked the music that was on the radio right now, would you like that music too, or would you prefer to listen to the kind of music that you grew up with and that you like?
I can adapt to listening all music.
Okay.
I like pop music, rock music, and soul. I like to.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking as you're saying that Ken would probably agree with this. I think that's what he was saying is nowadays young people, they have been exposed to all different styles of music because of the internet, because of their parents, whereas before all we had was the radio. So usually in the radio they would mostly play like the new music, and then your parents maybe had records or maybe CDs or something. But nowadays you really can hear all styles of music, so it's interesting. It's different than it was. And Joyma, you're saying that about the news too, how you have different ways of accessing. But Joyma, what about you? what kind of music do you like? And is it different than the music your parents like?
Yes, I really appreciate very different music than of my parents, of course, and than of my son. But, so my son is 19 or 20 years old, and this afternoon I asked him, "Oh, listen, come here, please. Listen, that music is beautiful." It was Savall. Savall is a classic. And very special with old instrument, and oh, mom, that is is regular. Oh no, it was horrible. I'm very very sad because it's beautiful. It's so much beautiful. And
yeah, you really like it. Yeah, that's a perfect example of a generation gap, you know, where you find something so wonderful and it brings good feelings to you, and your kids are like, that's terrible. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes I listen to some of the songs that my kids listen to and they really enjoy, and I'm just like, what the heck is that? That's terrible.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, Rafa, are you back? He stepped away a minute, maybe.
I'm here.
The other Rafa from Spain. But okay, Rafael, since you're there, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's your experience with music? You know, your type of music versus your parents.
Okay. I cannot compare my taste in music with my parents' taste because actually I don't think they like music because I'm the only person that likes music in my home, but I feel weird when it comes to my taste in music because I like everything. The only thing that I know that I don't like is screaming music like heavy metal.
Heavy metal.
Me because everybody's screaming and screaming and screaming. For me, it's a noise.
Yeah.
And
me too.
But when it comes to music, I like everything. For example, I'm not that old. I'm 30 years old, but I like, for example, Stevie Wonder, and I also like to hear Christina Aguilera, for example. What I don't like about music today is because there's a lot of fake singers. For example, Britney Spears, she cannot sing, and I don't think it's acceptable. She shouldn't be very famous because when it comes to sing lively, she can't. And there are a lot of singers like her.
Yeah, there's a name for that kind of thing. I think it's called auto-tune, or I'm not sure. But yeah, nowadays with technology, they can record people who don't necessarily have great voices, but they use the technology to create like the CD, you know, the music. But then when you go to see them live, it's like not good. So yeah, I think that's another difference in the generation gap. Young people don't seem to care if it's electronic music or the voice quality. They don't care if it's been manipulated by technology, whereas maybe, Joyma, what you're saying is, you know, somebody with a beautiful voice or somebody who can play an instrument really well was what people used to appreciate, you know. So, yeah. Okay, Wellington, what about you? What about music and the generations, your parents' generation versus your generation?
My mother, my father, they are only 20 years older than I. So my mom, for example, he likes the new kind of music, and I like most of the music that she likes. I like too, and but of course there are some kinds of singers of music. Yes, some kinds of music that I don't like. I don't like. But I think it's depends the like I said, my mom, for example, she likes many kinds of music that I like. Sometimes we go together to see to hear to listen live music, and so I think it depends because it depends the place the behavior. For example, I grew up listen music because my mom. So for example, I like rock, heavy metal, pop music. When I went to United States, I saw the concert to the Glee, the Glee, the kind the kids, the teenagers that she has a program in the Fox.
Yeah.
So I like, and I think we in my home we didn't have it this, but
yeah. Go ahead.
but I think beyond the rule, sometimes the music has impact, a different impact in generations. For example, here in Brazil, when we talk about the 70s, we remember some singers that they brought some reflections, some messages to the people. In the 80s, we have other singers, other bands of rock, and they bring the same idea, the same message, but in a different way. And unfortunately, the 90s, in 20s, we lost. We don't have the music. Don't the songs don't have messages. Only the happy, the happy music. But the other kinds we don't have more messages. What I think is the must is the best in the music or in general.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is different, and that's what people talk about in the U.S. at least when they discuss generations. They kind of we could say evaluate them and even judge them. So, for example, the new generation, the young. So what I mean about new generation, it's like the people in their 20s. They are often judged as being lazy, for example, and that they aren't creating, like revolutionary messages. And so different generations here, it's in the United States that I'm talking about, they get kind of judged. Like these people were radicals, in the 60s, and then these people were very apathetic, and it comes out in the music too. Like what are they talking about? What are the messages that young people care about, and what are they trying to achieve as they become adults? So yeah. But you also made an interesting point too. I think sometimes we do like our parents' music somewhat because we grow up when we're very young listening to their music, and then when we start making our own choices, like maybe when we're teenagers, around maybe starting at 11 or 12 or something, you start separating yourself, and like you may still like the music your parents like, but you might also like other kinds, and kind of what your friends are into and that type of thing. Not always, but sometimes. Okay, Rafa, in Spain, you're back. What about you? We were asking the question about music. Do you remember, do you like the music of your parents or grandparents, or were you into your own music when you were young?
When I was young, it was about 60s or 70s. the role that play music here in Spain, because we had an autocratic,
okay, yeah,
autocratic government. The music play a role very revolutionary, very open-minded. There were a lot of singers and musicians that catch this role to the music, trying to develop new ideas about democracy, about what is gonna be happening in the next few years, and talking about freedom, as you said before, free love, free of mind, and also about psychedelic drugs and other effects. And also another role that played music when I was young, there were boutiques, discos, people dance with the music together, face to face.
Yeah.
And it was, I think we lost this attitude nowadays. And music was so interesting because you can't find any girls to dance with her, and it was so amazing and so romantic. Nowadays, when I go with my mates to a disco, every people is dancing but alone, looking at the others, but don't touch between them. When I remember my old times, people dance together in a very romantic way.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think music is different for people, and also when I was young, people tried to be musician. Many of us tried to play guitar or to play drums. So one of the good ideas was to have a group like the Beatles or like Rolling Stone. For this reason, many groups, many young people joined together and tried to compose lyrics and music. Well, I think nowadays it could be the same, but in another way. It's interesting.
Different style, maybe. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, let's go to this one. I was thinking, let's see, which one was it? This one, I was thinking. What about you, Ahmed? One of the things that defines a generation gap also, the term, is that sometimes we don't understand our parents or maybe even our grandparents. We have different ideas about the world, and so sometimes it makes it difficult to talk to them, maybe about politics or about, how people are living nowadays, the lifestyle of younger people. Sometimes it's not a problem, and sometimes it is. What about for you, Ahmed? Do you feel like you can talk with your parents about anything, or your grandparents, or are there some things where you know that you have different ideas than they do?
No, I can't talk to them about everything. Yeah, we have a different way of thinking. We have a lot of gap, a lot of generation gap in the same way. Yeah. Nowadays, the open-minded people, the open-minded thinking is become our attitude now. Yeah. We have a little bit open ideas. We discuss everything. When I talk to my parents, some of ideas not discussable. Yeah, you can discuss it with them.
Yeah.
You found a lot of things, those stuff. Yeah, they don't understand it. But at the end of the day, they let you do what you what is in your mind. Yeah.
Trying to understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing too. Enjoyment. You're mentioning it not as people live longer, you have people living into maybe their 80s, 90s, pretty healthy. A person who's in their 60s, let's say, for example, they're in a lot of countries, their life was very different than somebody now who's 20 or even 30 or something, and that really makes a difference. So especially, Ahmed, like in some countries like in the Middle East with the Arab Spring and all of that, it could be very different. People, and even Rafa, like you were saying, if you grew up, like if your parents and your grandparents grew up under like a dictatorship or communism or something like this, and now the young people are growing up under a different style of government, could be very different. Very hard to communicate with each other easily about things because the experience is so different.
Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Yeah, you see, we are now under a military rule. Yeah, they like that rule. But after our Spring, Arab Spring, we don't like that. Our friends died for the freedom, but they didn't see that.
Yeah. Right, and some people, younger people, also are sometimes known to have to take more risks, whereas the older people, they tend to value security more, and so it's biologically different too. So Carla, what about you? You and your parents, can you guys talk about everything? Do you have differences of opinion or experience?
I think it depends on of our point. Or, for example, if it's a problem that I have in my life now, I think they have a lot of experience, and I can talk to them, and they can advise me about the problem, for example.
Sure.
And yes. And for another way, I think when I wear modern clothes, I feel that my mom, for example, sometimes she doesn't understand that I use that clothes, for example.
She doesn't understand why.
No, she doesn't understand. And when I go out with my friends to a club or at weekends, sometimes she doesn't understand why I use that dress, for example, or
yeah. Right.
It's complicated.
Right, yeah. So her experience is different, and it's hard to understand maybe your experience. Yeah. Joyma, do you have that situation with your son? Or did you have it with your parents?
No, in relation to the dressing. Just okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
It's okay. Doing very, especially is that nowadays we have 4 different generations. Because grandmother, son, and coexisting generations, because longer life spans. That more generations are living and of course working simultaneously, and that is I think that is the first time in our history there are 3 or 4 different generations, and that is of course then we have 4 generations gap, and it's a big matter.
Yeah. I agree, because like we were saying, like so long ago, so different. For example, in my family, my children, they have great grandparents in their 80s. I'm typing it in the Verbling chat. So my children are in their teens. So, and I'm in my 40s. My parents are in their 60s because they had me young, and my grandparents are in their 80s. So,
You're right. Me too.
Right. So 4 generations of people. Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, it's interesting the differences because time changes. We can say times change. So my grandparents, they grew up, you know, in the United States in the Depression era. So they're very much about hard work, you know, hard work and saving money, and my parents aren't so much about that. And, you know, my generation, we don't just have one job forever, you know. And
but sometimes it happens very crazy things because my grandparents use this Google and internet and Twitter.
Technology.
I think that's the first symptom of Alzheimer, of course, but
yeah, my grandma, she is on Facebook.
yeah.
Okay, Rafa, what about you with your parents? Did you ever have any trouble talking about things with your parents because of this difference, this generation gap?
When I was young, parents don't talk to their children anymore. They only give orders and say how your behavior must to be. And they talk only a few things with children cause I don't know, perhaps the idea of education was so different. Nowadays, I think there is an important gap between those generation, mine and others, and I try to talk with my children, so with my nephews, almost about everything, all I can. The conversation, the relationship between children's fathers are so different. You can share everything with them. Parents give advice about everything to their children, and the communication between them is so easy. The more communicative, and for this reason, I think it's better because you have more information about everything. When I was young, my parents only think, as you told before, you said before, in the depression, they only think in work and try to get money to the family. For this. Nowadays, the gap, the differences are so important and so interesting. Perhaps it's the better moment that we can live in the humankind history. Nowadays, we can have any kind of food, any kind of behavior. There are more freedom than in every time. For this reason, it's a good moment, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that's changed a lot. I think I wrote in the chat, there's a saying in English, it was a very old style of parenting, maybe my grandparents and before them even, was that children should be seen and not heard. So, you know, the role of the child was to be obedient, quiet, and not bother your parents. Now it's totally different.
In my country, the sentence was children and women.
Oh, women too. Okay.
Yeah, women too.
Yes. Children and women have come a long way. Yeah. Okay, Rafael, what about you in Brazil? Do you talk about things with your parents, or do you notice a generation gap problem where you can't talk about certain things?
I think it is plain to see that we have so many different opinions about a lot of things. But I think we can talk about almost anything. But personally, I think that I don't feel comfortable to talk about sex with parents because, you know, it's a little bit weird. But yeah, that's the only thing that I don't feel comfortable to talk with them. But the rest, we can talk about anything.
Yeah. I think that's probably true in a lot of places around the world, which is really funny because, you know, obviously your parents have sex. They had you, you know, and they know about it, and they probably had to go through a very similar experiences, maybe with that topic related to, you know, what does it mean for them? How do you do it? What is it about? But it still does seem to be one of those conversations that some parents have trouble with their kids, or vice versa. The kids don't feel comfortable talking about it. So, interesting. And, well, like Rafa was saying, maybe in the 60s it was so different, too. You know, the idea of sex and what it is and who you should have it with and everything was so different that the older generation they just didn't know what to do with it, you know. And a lot of that has to do with religion, also different beliefs around religion. Wellington, what about you? Do you have any things that you're not really comfortable talking to your parents about?
Like Rafael said, and you complemented. I talk anything with my parents, with my mother, but about sex, not. But now I think it's very important to talk about this and other things. Nowadays, I believe that maybe it's more important that the parents are to close their children, their sons and girls, children, because the world is very, I think, is very hard, is very difficult, is very violent, and we all day, every day are fighting, struggling with the drugs, with the addictions. I think, unfortunately, these bad things are more close, are our neighbors. No, we unfortunately we don't know our neighbors. I a condom, and my floor, on my floor, I don't know my neighbors. I live here and 8 years.
Wow.
So I don't know their names, for example.
Yeah.
So because this, I think it is very, very important to be close, to be very, very close to their children, and to of course try to know what they are thinking, what is important for them, because the world is very, very dangerous.
Dangerous, yeah. Well, that leads me actually to this next question that I wanted to ask, and we have about 10 more minutes. So in your opinion, do you think that your life is easier or harder than your parents, and why would you say that? Why do you have that opinion? So Ahmed, what do you think? Is your life easier or harder than your parents?
Yeah, it's not very hard, yeah.
Good.
At the end of the day, I convince them with my opinion.
So do you think that at your age, were your parents struggling more than you are now?
Yeah, they are more struggling. Yeah, they love the heart. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they save the money. They need to save money. They are in a poor family. Yeah. Nowadays, I am in a rich family. Yeah. Right. They struggle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. You can thank them. Carla, what about you? Do you feel like your life is easier or harder than your parents? And the question means like around the same ages. So like at your age now, were your parents like at your age, were they having an easier time than you or a harder time?
I think our life is easier than them. Hello?